Wow, I've been waiting a long time for this. This is the OSMO Action from DJI, and as you guys know, at least some of you guys know, I'm a huge fan of DJI. I've been reviewing a lot of their gadgets, and today I'll tell you exactly what I think about the DJI OSMO Action. So it's basically DJI's new dual screen action camera. Its main feature is the rock steady stabilization technology that basically makes your videos shake free. It's also waterproof to depths of up to 11 meters without a case. And the video recording capability basically goes up to 4K resolution with 60 frames per second and a 100 megabit per second bitrate. So has DJI created the ultimate action camera? Let's start the review and find out. Hello my friends, how are you doing? I'm Rotordil and welcome to my channel. I've been reviewing gadgets just like the OSMO Action over here for the last couple of years now, and I invite you to join my channel. I'm going to do the world's quickest unboxing right now and just show you what you get inside the box. It's basically the OSMO Action, and you get a bunch of accessories like a manual and also two adapters of which you can basically use to install the OSMO Action in your car if you want to, your studio or whatever, a USB-C cable, and this kind of thing, which is kind of box where you put the battery inside and an SD card. Well, I'm not going to use that because my SD card is already in the camera and the battery is already installed. I actually thought I'm getting a second battery with that, but nah, I didn't. If you're for the first time in this channel, by the way, you might want to subscribe by clicking on the red subscribe button down below so I can see you on my future videos. I love to meet new people, and I get a lot of neat comments on my reviews. So thank you very much if you already subscribed, and if you haven't, just click on that button down below. I've been using the OSMO Action for the past couple of weeks now, and I've been using it with this, which is the PGY Tech. I'll try to find a link for it, and like always, I'll put links in the description of this video below for all the products that I'm talking about. But as a heavy user of action cameras, you always want to have something like that. This is also a tripod that can handle high winds. I actually captured the sunset with it, and I was pretty much afraid it's gonna fall off, but it holds very well. And also the OSMO Action, of course, links are going to be down below. Let's talk about the OSMO Action. The first feature for me is the ability to see what you are recording. And if we turn on the camera, the front-facing screen is the first thing we are seeing here. When you switch to it, of course, there's a button over here on the side, which is basically the quick select or quick settings or whatever you want to call it, or quick switch. It just works. You'll get the screen up in the front and you'll be able to basically compose your frame, which is a huge thing if you are a photographer or if you are taking videos of yourself like I'm doing most of the time. So for me, this is the huge selling point with this camera. I was blown away when I saw that there's an action camera with a front-facing screen. For me, it's like a dream come true because I'm recording myself all the time. And if we want to switch back to the back screen, we click on that button, the quick select button again, and then you'll see that we got back to the back screen. Now there's a lot of action cameras on the market. I actually use myself the GoPro Hero 7 and also the Xiaomi action camera, and I think this one is probably the best that I've tested for a couple of reasons, but the big two are it's super fast. It basically starts recording in 2 seconds, which is a huge thing for anybody that records videos like I do. Let's say I have some kind of action scene I want to record, I just press on the record button. Even though the camera is turned off, it's already starting to record in about 2 seconds. That's a huge feature, one of the biggest selling points for me after the front-facing screen. So quickly, it's fast. And also, one of the things I want to mention is that it's intuitive. For example, I started the recording, but now when I stop the recording, it doesn't shut off. It actually has a label that says, if you want to turn off the camera, just don't do anything, or press on the screen if you want to keep it on. I think that's genius. I don't see that on the GoPro, for example, and I really like that feature. Another thing that I really like is the quick select, that you can also customize with it the modes that you're going to switch to when pressing on it. This is a huge feature because when you press on the quick select, you can basically define the modes that you are using the most. So for example, I haven't talked about the video quality here, but the video quality is amazing. And if you want to switch between 4K 60 frames per second and 4K 30 frames per second because you want to slow down the video later on just by having it with 60 frames, you can basically press on that button and switch modes. and you don't have to press on the screen or like go into a settings menu or whatever. The quick select button is an awesome button. I've been using it all the time. So one of the big things about the camera is the stabilization, and that's being done with the rock steady feature. Basically that means that you'll see a bit of a crop on the video, and there's going to be an EIS system, or electronic image stabilization system, that after it crops in, it can basically get you all that shake-free footage that's being obviously done with algorithms. So it's not like an optical feature, like an optical stabilization, but it works very well. I've been using it a lot. Like in most of my videos, I have the rock steady turned on. However, if you're recording at slow motion, just so you know, there's no rock steady on 240 frames, which is a bit of a bummer. But if you're already recording at 240 frames anyway, you probably don't need that stabilization because the footage is going to be stable anyways. There's a huge pile of features on this camera. The first thing is obviously time-lapse, and I've been using time-lapse in all of the Osmo family products. Basically, as you can see right now of me just filming myself, you put the camera anywhere and it takes an image every couple of seconds, for example, or whatever you set it to. You also have HDR video, and you can see right now how the HDR video looks. And I'm just going to turn HDR video off so you can see how it looks without HDR video. You basically get a bit more colors and you get a bit more detail in the shadow. I haven't used that feature too much. I guess it's not a huge thing for me anyways. And I don't think it's a huge improvement, as this camera, like most of the action cameras, don't have that big of a sensor anyway, so I don't think it's a real HDR mode like you have in full frame mirrorless cameras, for example. But one of the features I really like the most is the hyperlapse. As you can see right now, you can basically take shots of you going between places or moving or walking, and it basically is a walking time-lapse or a moving time-lapse. It's awesome. You can see it all over the internet these days, and you have it built in with this camera. You don't have to do that in post via an editing software, for example. It's working great. It's called Hyperlapse, and it's probably the first feature you want to use in any action camera that you get, especially in this one with the rocksteady stabilization. DJI also updates this camera all the time, and in the latest update they've added loop recording. So if you're planning on using the OSMO Action in your car, for example, you can actually use loop recording to keep on to record on the same file, for example, whether it's for 1 hour, 20 minutes, or whatever setting you choose. That just shows you that DJI is really looking forward to adding more features to this camera, and I think it's awesome. They are not making a new version of the camera yet. They're still adding features to it. I just love that. So one thing I didn't like is the DJI Mimo app. It already has low rankings on the Play Store because of a bunch of other problems that it has. It seems like DJI has solved most of these problems, especially the ones I had with the Osmo Mobile, which were crazy. But with this camera, for example, if I do record at 4K 60 frames per second, it just takes a lot of time to transfer the files. So what I do is I just disconnect the SD card and I put it into my phone via an adapter, for example, just to move the files, because the wireless transfer for huge files recorded at 100 megabits per second just takes too long. For example, the last trip I just showed you, it took around half an hour to transfer the files via the Mimo app, so I just don't like that at all. Just take out the SD card and connect it to your phone. The second thing is the new mechanism with the battery. This is not something you see on other action cameras. Basically, you'll see that you have two buttons here on the bottom that show you whether the battery has been installed successfully. Because this camera is waterproof up to a depth of 11 meters, you really want to make sure that if you do go underwater without a case, that's just the camera turning itself off. I was scared my main camera killed itself, but it didn't happen. So you have these two buttons. When you press on them, basically you see there's a red label or a yellowish label. If you see that color, it means that the battery is not fully inserted. And in this case, for example, I can still turn on the camera even though I have a yellowish color over here. That means that if I do go underwater now, I'll basically kill my camera because the water is going to go inside. So just make sure you press it all the way and you don't see that yellow color in either of the two buttons. And I know already of many people who destroy their camera by taking it underwater and not checking the yellow label on the sides of these buttons. So why should you use the Osmo Action camera and not other action cameras? Basically, there are three reasons for me at least. The front-facing screen is a huge thing. It's way faster than anything else. It's probably the fastest action camera that I've seen, and it's also customizable. And if that's not enough, the pricing is cheaper than most of the other flagship cameras, for example, GoPro. So you know what? I'm keeping this. It's gonna be my main action camera. And if anything changes, I'll let you guys know. I hope you enjoyed this review. It's a huge recommendation for me here at Rotodeal. Make sure you check out these 2 videos over here if you liked my review, because I have many more coming up also. So make sure you subscribe by pressing on this button over here. And there's another video review over here for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching. I was Rotodeal. If you have any questions, post them on the comments section below. Links are also in the description. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.